pleased to present our speaker today. I was delighted she agreed to join us. The program notes, and hopefully you'll take a minute to look at all of her accomplishments. I'm going to kind of hit the highlights here, but Dr. Skinner is the regional medical head of Novartis Pharmaceutical, and her early years were spent in the Kenton community, just next door here over in Gibson County, where she graduated from Kenton High School. She prepared herself academically with a bachelor's degree from the University of Tennessee and a doctor of pharmacy from the UT Center for the Health Sciences in Memphis. Her career has taken her from Memphis to Baltimore and now back to the South Central region of the United States in her work with Novartis. In addition to her work in pharmacy, she serves as an ordained minister at St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church in Kenton. So it's a real pleasure for me to present to you Dr. Michelle Skinner. So Dr. Skinner.
It is quite an honor to be here today. I'd like to thank Dr. Boyer. I'd also like to thank Ms. Tina Morris, Mr. Tim Montgomery. They heard me at a previous engagement that I had. But I'd also like to recognize Ms. Emma Mays Reynolds, who was the first contact I had here in Dyersburg to be able to speak. My brother, Rodney Alford, works here at Dyersburg State Community College. And so I hear a lot about Dyersburg on a regular basis. My mother is also here with me today. My father is not here, but my mother is here with me. So I'm just pleased to be home. West Tennessee is home for me, will always be home for me. As I considered what to speak on and what to talk about as we consider the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I thought about community. That's what really came to mind. What he really loved was people, because to do the work that he did, it was all about people. It wasn't about whether you were rich or poor, whether you were black or white, whether you were somebody who had stature or didn't have stature. He was somebody who just loved people. And so I want to talk to you today about commitment to community. What is your commitment to your community? What do you do on a daily basis to make your community better? What do you do to show that you are actively involved? Maybe it's your church, maybe it's your town, maybe it's your state community, maybe even it's the country of the United States. Right now, as we see what's going on in Haiti, we see that we truly are a global community. Nothing that affects one does not affect all of us. It's by the grace of God, and forgive me for those of you who don't want a religious reference. Being a minister, it's kind of tough not to do it. It's by the grace of God that that earthquake didn't strike at the New Madrid fault line. We know that we all sit on the New Madrid fault line. And if it had hit here, what would the devastation have been? Would we be the ones right now standing in need? Would we be the ones crying out for someone to help us? So ultimately, we're all community, whether we live next door or whether we live hundreds of thousands of miles away. So I thought about Dr. King, and I said, Dr. King, you know, your commitment to community was on a global scale. Mine may be on a very local scale, but I want to make a difference in the way that I live my life and what I do on a daily basis. So as I thought about that, people being at the heart of it, there are 4 areas I'd like to address with you today. The first one being purpose. What is your purpose in life? What is your calling? What do you get up on a daily basis and know that that is what you need to be doing? Is it in your job that you found your purpose? If you're an educator, is your calling to impart knowledge to others? If you're an entertainer, is your calling to bring joy to people? If you're a lawyer, is your calling and your purpose to see that there's equal justice for all? Whatever you do, there ought to be a calling in that. If it's not in your career, make sure that in your actions, you live out what your purpose in life is. Number 2, you've got to be passionate about it. You've got to absolutely love what you do. If it's your calling and you love it, then you're passionate about it. If you're passionate about it, you'll be successful at it. If you're successful at it, don't worry about the money. The money will come. I found out if you keep people at the heart, if you keep true to your calling and your purpose in life, if you're passionate about what you do, and finally, if you persevere, if you know that tough times are going to come, if you know that everything is not going to be easy, if you know that, as Dr. King says, there are going to be some dark days ahead, if you know that everything requires a little bit of struggle to make it through, I guarantee you that what your calling is will be accomplished. What your purpose is that you live on a daily basis will be great. You will have an effect in your community. You will change people one at a time, day by day, life by life. Have your purpose. Know what it is. Find out what it is. If you don't know, you need to find it. Be passionate about that purpose. Persevere through every kind of difficulty. Know that when tough times come, that's your chance to shine. People don't know what you're like in times of good. People find out who you are in times of adversity. People find out what you're made of when things get tough. And I found out that there are some people in West Tennessee especially who's got some grit. There are some people who are determined to stand no matter what. So have your purpose. Be passionate about your purpose. Persevere through every difficulty, every hardship. Every time someone tells you no, there's somebody else who will say yes. Every time that door closed, there's another door that will open. Every time somebody says you're not good enough, just know this is what you're called to do and you can't give up on it. That's why you persevere, is because you know that what you're doing is true to who you are. And finally, once you're purposeful, once you're passionate, once you persevere, you will perform. Performance is the key to it all. If Dr. King had had that dream and he never stood up and did anything, nobody would have ever remembered. Maybe society wouldn't have changed. Maybe people wouldn't have become better people. Maybe life for all of us would have been very different. But performance is at the heart of it all. Whether you're on your job on a daily basis, whether you're going out, you're taking care of people, whether you're a minister in a church, you've got to perform. You've got to show up every single day and not do it halfway. You've got to give 100%. You've got to give everything you've got, because you know that when you give it, somebody's life is changed. When you give it, you have an impact that you may never see. When you give your absolute best and you perform, later on down the road, the impact that you had will be seen in lives that have been changed. Be purposeful, be passionate, persevere, and finally perform. If you do all those things, your commitment to your community will shine through, and people's lives will be changed. God bless you.